Hello and welcome back to the podcast. I am so excited, which I know I say just about every episode, but this episode I am talking with Mary Margaret of M Studios, and I am so thrilled because this is the week of our live podcasting event at the Emily McCarthy shop in Savannah, and Mary Margaret is one of the panel guests for that episode, in addition to Molly from Crosby by Molly Birch and Liz from Wheezy Towels, and of course Emily. So I am just so excited. It's going to be such a fun week. I'm so excited to meet so many listeners there at Emily's store and experience Emily's beautiful store for the first time. I haven't visited yet, and I am just so excited. So I hope you guys enjoy this episode, and I'd love to hear. Feel free to email me or DM me if there are places you'd love to see me do another live podcast. I'm hoping to do a lot more in 2025, so I'm working on the calendar and schedule in the next couple of weeks, and I would love to hear where you'd like to see me. So without further ado, let's get into this week's episode. All right, so why don't you let everyone know who you are, where you live, and what you do?
I am Mary Margaret Monsees. I live in Savannah, Georgia, and I am the artist behind my business name, which is M Studio. M Studio because I thought Mary Margaret Monsees was too much of a mouthful and too many alliterations. And I really wanted to fuse my business from the get-go in with flexibility so it can kind of pivot with my interests and as I change and grow.
Yeah, I think that's so smart. I kind of did the same with my PR business, calling it Peaked PR and not, Patricia Marriage Public Relations, or now that I'm married, Patricia Olson, just because it does give you a little bit more flexibility when you name it something else, right?
Right.
Well, I am thrilled to have you on the podcast today because when this is coming out, then the next day we actually will have our event in Savannah at Emily's store. So for those listening who still haven't got tickets yet and want to pop over, then hopefully those will be live on Emily's site still. And you can hear more from all of us then the next day. But let's learn more about you today. So I'm curious, were you someone as a kid that was creative and artistic or entrepreneurial and business minded? What were you like as a kid? What was your childhood like?
Yeah, so I'm from Columbus, Georgia, and Columbus is a special spot. It's a community that really supports the arts. Whenever my friends hear that I'm from there, everyone's like, "What's in the water there?" Because we have really prestigious artists like Bo Bartlett and Amy Sherald, who did First Lady Michelle Obama's portrait. Then to kind of like new age artists like Molly Jenkins Pottery, you may be familiar
Yeah.
with. She does those white ceramic ghosts that are like the chicest Halloween decorations ever. And Luli Wallace, who is a fabulous textile designer and also a painter. She's also from Columbus.
Wow.
So I feel super lucky. I grew up in a place that really supports the arts, and it was always something that was in me. I was never into sports and pursued art both in school and with private lessons. And then even I did drama, I did musical theater, I love to write, I love design growing up. Anything that allowed me the opportunity to kind of make something out of nothing.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I wanted to do. Sign me up for that.
I love that. And that's so funny. I had no idea that there were so many artists from the town you were originally from. That's so
Really,
crazy.
so many. I joke with some of my girlfriends that all roads lead back to Columbus. It's a small town in Georgia, but there is a lot of talent there. And
Wow.
my family was super artistic as well. My grandmother was a classical musician. My dad was a contractor. My uncle was an architect. So I feel like I came from both a large community that valued the arts, but also my core knit. A lot of my cousins actually have gone into artistic careers,
Yeah.
and my brother is a woodworker. My cousin Frank is a guitar builder. So it kind of is in my blood in a way.
Yeah, definitely. Oh my gosh, so fun. So then when it came time for college, where and what did you end up studying? Did you go into something with the arts? Tell me about that journey.
Yeah. So I went to the University of Georgia when it came time to go to school. And like I said, I really wanted to be around that creative energy. I always knew that was something that I loved and a way I wanted to make my life and set my life up to do. But, it's funny. I graduated high school in 2007. So this new direct to consumer kind of artist being able to appeal to a wider audience via social media was just not done. I mean, social media basically didn't exist. There was Facebook. So I went to Georgia, got a degree in art history, which made sense to me.
Mhm.
School was something I always enjoyed, and I was a straight A student pretty much. So it felt like, hey, this is a way that I can be around the arts, but hopefully make a career out of this and make a living and make money for myself. I envisioned maybe working at a museum or in a gallery or at an auction house. And when I was in Athens, which, I mean, talk about another cultural hub, the amount of amazing music that has come out of that town is just, it was a great place to spend 4 years. And I worked in galleries there while I was getting my degree in art history. And it just felt a little sterile. I don't know, sales didn't feel right. I was like, how am I gonna make this something that I enjoy? And I think honestly too, um, I don't think I identified myself as an artist. Like it takes a long time to be vulnerable enough to be like, yes, I am the creator. I am the creative behind this. I kind of felt like I would be in a role where I supported creatives
Okay.
rather than being the creator myself. So I actually went after undergraduate. I went to graduate school in Charleston, South Carolina, and got a master's in historic preservation, which focused on architecture. So, like I said, my dad was a contractor, so I really thought that I would help restore old buildings, old historic towns. I'm super passionate about old craftsmanship and old buildings, and my husband and I have actually done a few projects ourselves. And so that has influenced kind of the way I see the world and the way I move about the world. But it was kind of an indirect path that got me here, always in the realm of culture and arts,
Yeah.
but it took me a while to figure out like, no, it's me. I want to do something.
Yeah. I feel like so many of us entrepreneurs struggle with that, like at saying, "Oh, I'm a business owner," or so many of us. I was just at a conference, and it's like my little old business. Like it's hard to be like, "No, I am an entrepreneur. I have a business. I'm an artist. I'm a publicist. I'm whatever it is." It's hard to say those words for some reason as a woman or as an entrepreneur for a little bit until you get into the groove and get your inner confidence going.
100%. And I was so young, and putting yourself out there at any age is
Mhm.
scary. And nowadays, you put a picture online and you're to be judged by everyone.
Yeah,
So it's
that's true.
it's a scary thing venturing off on your own.
Totally. Okay, so once you go to Charleston and you get your master's, then what was sort of the next career move from there then? What did you do?
So I wrote my thesis because, I was getting a master's degree. So I was in a very scholarly kind of state of mind. And like I said, I liked writing, always liked writing, and got a job as an editor at Acadia Publishing, which is a history book publishing company that's based out of Charleston. You probably would recognize the books. They're those thin sepia tone, black and white history books about neighborhoods, communities, different social movements, cities across the United States. So I worked as an editor for that company, and again, assisting others to create their thing.
Yeah.
So I loved that. I loved working hand in hand with authors, coming up with their concepts, and then really shepherding them through both the creation of the book, and then they would be passed off with internally in our company to like a PR team that
Okay.
did all the marketing and PR stuff for them.
Okay, that makes sense. I see there's so much a similarity between interior design or architecture and history and art. So at what point did you get into dabbling with art again, would you say?
So we moved from Charleston to Savannah after I got married to my husband for my husband's job and to be closer to family. And I had been struggling, clearly, as you'll see, for years with trying to figure out what it was that I wanted to do and what I wanted to pursue kind of on my own. I always had that inkling, like little fire inside me, that there was something more, and I just it took me a long time to be able to put my finger on it. So when we moved to Savannah, I took a year to really deep dive into myself and to figure out kind of what I wanted my voice to be, what I wanted to pursue. I just wanted to lead with kind of authenticity and integrity. And it really took me a year to be able to figure out exactly what my voice was going to kind of be in the art world. So M Studio launched in 2020. And that was kind of the beginning of my artistic journey.
Yeah. So, okay. So with MCD, when I think of you, I think of florals. Is that how it started? Did it start with that then? I know because you said it sort of was a journey, but was florals kind of always in your head, but maybe just the medium in which your art was done might have changed, or what did it start with?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it always did start with flowers. I mean, I just love them. I love the natural world. Um, and then it developed into, I call my art preserved botanicals. So basically, what I do is I go in search of flowers and plants and ferns and different things that appeal to me out in the natural world. And then I press and dry those pieces, paint them because they usually lose some of their vibrancy. I'm able to paint them so they'll keep that vibrant green or whatever the flower is for years to come, and then affix the dried botanical to a wooden panel using epoxy resin. So the resin gives a like high gloss, kind of modern sheen.
Yep.
And then you obviously have the organic nature of the plant that's on the botanical part of my art. So I think it creates a really interesting contrast. And obviously, botanical art is something that, again, has historic roots and is something that's recognized and beloved by so many people. For example, I have this botanical art that was in my grandmother's house, and I inherited that from her, and now it hangs in my bedroom. So I think there's a real nostalgia to botanical art. And what I've tried to do is just infuse a little bit of a modern take on this beloved art form. And I think it has a real design element too. It's fun to see it in wallpapered rooms and new rooms by interior designers, and it's in commercial spaces as well. So it has a broad spectrum.
Yeah, I think that's such a good point because I think, florals as in leopards or stripes, that's something that's always classic, right? It'll always be found in interiors and fashion and just everywhere. But the sheen to it definitely makes it a little bit more modern. And I could see it, yeah, in a super modern, more minimal space, or something like a grand millennial, like layered, cozy place as well. So I think that's so cool that it's able to be both and appeal to both of those. So, what was the process like then? Defining your type of art and epoxy. I feel like that's a whole nother skill to learn, and then painting the florals and preserving them. And so, what was that like? Like, how long did that take, and kind of how did you define that then?
Yeah, so for that first year that I said that I kind of took to try to delve into myself, I was doing some commission work from some interior designers here in Savannah. And so that kind of helped pay the bills and kept me chugging along as I was able to create kind of friendships and relationships with designers here. I would work on the side on this idea. I just like had this idea. I was like, I think there's something here. I think this could be a really cool thing to do. And I created a series, and one of my designer friends came to pick up some art I'd done for another client. And she said, no, this is it. I've never seen anything like this. This feels unique. This feels like you have a voice here. I think keep pushing here.
Okay.
So that was really fun. And I felt like I'd kind of come on to something, and I was able to release a collection that sold out in the first day online. So there was like immediate response, and I feel so lucky that I kind of had that pat on the back to keep me going.
Yeah. So with that then, once your friend, she says, this is it, like this resonates, this is something different and unique. And then obviously you had to create the art, like we talked about, to then sell. But you decided to launch with a website. Did you have social media at that point? Like, what did that taking it from an idea to a business look like for you then?
Yeah. Yeah. So I had an Instagram and I had a website, and me and my husband worked at nights on creating that website. And since then, I've been able to kind of hire out and contract the stuff
Yeah.
that I need help with, which is great. But I never wanted to get too far away from doing the art myself. It's just me in the studio, and I can't really, I guess I could teach someone how to do the epoxy or how to press the flowers in the way I do or how to compositionally lay out the stuff I do, but that's what's important to me, and it's something that I enjoy, and I want to have my hands on that. The social media stuff I still handle myself,
Okay.
but I do have help with a business manager
Mhm.
who helps me with my releases and helps do all of the kind of background coding and website stuff that
Okay.
takes place.
Yeah.
But originally, it was just me. And it really was just me and my husband for like 4 years. Really, in this past year, it's gotten to the point where I'm able to bring people in and have help.
Yeah. So, in terms of marketing, then, what would you say kind of has been the best form of marketing to get your art out there to the world? It sounds like, I mean, from hearing you talk, one of the strategies has been working with interior designers. Is that correct? But I'd love to hear kind of what you think has worked.
Yeah, I think working with interior designers has been the best marketing, and it's so fun for me. I'm alone in the studio, so it is so fun to work with another creative and come up with a concept art that I know is going to complement, the fabrics and the furniture. I love to be able to do that, and I love working with an interior designer too, because usually, the room is finished at the end.
Yeah.
So it's fun to be able to see the whole idea, the whole concept come together. I this summer had a few very cool projects. So I worked with Amanda Lindroth Design, who used to have a store in Charleston. She's closed it, but she was based out of the Bahamas, and she got hired by Auberge Resorts to design the Dunlin Hotel, which is in Kiowa River, right outside of Charleston. The property is fabulous, and this was like a long time dream of mine to be able to do a site specific collection. So the team from Amanda Lindroth invited me up. I got to tour the hotel before it was built and see kind of their ideas, what colors, what paints they were using, what fabrics they were using, what textures they were using. And then they wanted to commission 16 pieces of flowers, grasses, and leaves, all from the 2,000-acre property that Dunlin sits on the Kiowa River in Charleston. So I was able to get all of those botanicals from there, brought them back to my studio, and they are now in the Willet Room, which is the lobby bar. So all guests kind of arrive to a small check-in and then walk directly through this beautiful room that overlooks the marsh with, the most fabulous interiors. It's gorgeous. And then almost all the wall space is my art. So that is so fun, both to see that dream kind of come to fruition, but also to have a place, because I don't have a gallery or a place where people can really see my art. So fun to connect with, people that I've met online and via my Instagram, and people to be able to see my work in person. So that's been like a dream come true. It opened in August, so I'm still kind of riding high off of that project.
I know. I've been following along with that project, and it's on my list to go and visit that hotel for sure.
I still haven't been myself. I'm dying to go too.
Yeah, you need to go. So how did that come about? Did they just find you on Instagram, or because I think that's something that's so helpful for listeners who have businesses to learn how these sorts of projects and collaborations come to be.
Yes. So one of the women on the Amanda Lindroth team is named Mimi Whalen, and she is from Savannah originally. She worked in an interior design firm in New York, moved to Charleston for the Amanda Lindroth position. She did a few different projects for Amanda in Charleston, and then this was a big project for her. I think it maybe was her first like big commercial project, but I was seated next to Mimi, who works for Amanda, at a dinner here in Savannah. It was like there's this great boutique here named Hannah E, and she brought in C New York, the designers from that brand, and I was able to sit next to Mimi and kind of network, and we met each other. We just got each other. The interiors of that space are so gorgeous, and needed something kind of to ground them and kind of bring them into a kind of a contemporary feel. And also, Charleston is so great about supporting local, and really wanted to feel the wildness of the landscape that the hotel is on in the interiors of the space. So I got so lucky that they found me, and it felt truly like a perfect fit.
Yeah, that's so amazing. I think, something I always say is you have to go out there and network and attend events, and because you never know who you'll meet. And it sounds like this is an example of that right here.
100%.
Um, so I'm curious then, speaking about collaborations, who would your dream collab be with, or your dream person to have your art in their home, maybe?
What a great question. That's a great question. Like I said, this site specific work. So, being able to go to a place, collect all the stuff locally, really like get a feel for the landscape, and then be able to put it in a hotel was felt like such a dream. So I would love to do something like that again. It would be cool to be in a boutique. I mean, I love fashion. I would love to be able to do something like that. Commercial spaces are neat. I was also able this summer I worked with an interior designer in Houston, Texas, and put a lily pad botanical in a beloved restaurant out there called Tiny's Number 5. They did a big redo, and I was able to do a big piece of art right when you walk in the restaurant. And that's fun. It's so fun to be able to be somewhere in like a public space where
Yes.
people get to see my work. Obviously, it's great to work with collectors and fun to add to someone's home. I mean, is there a bigger honor than someone deciding that they want your art to hang on their walls and to look at it day after day? I mean, it's so flattering,
Yeah.
but it is really fun to be able to be in a public space where people get to interact with the work,
Mhm.
and people say, "Oh, I went to." There's another amazing restaurant in Houston that I did a piece for called Blue Dorn, and people comment all the time, "Oh, I got to see your work when I went to dinner," or it's just fun to be a part of people's lives in that way.
Certainly. I mean, and that's a great form of marketing, though, too. I had
Yes.
Jane Weir, the artist, on a few episodes ago, and she had mentioned she was at a hotel out towards Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, a beautiful one, and that's bringing her, customers from all over the world because a hotel people, it's not just local; they're coming from all over, which is so great. So, what would you say is the hardest and worst part about, being an artist, having your own business, and then on the flip side, what's the best and your favorite part?
Yes. The hardest part, I think, and everyone can probably identify with this, just time management and balancing. I think sometimes, it is a creative career. So people think I work when inspiration strikes, but the reality is, my kids are in school from 8:30 to 1 right now. And I really have to maximize my time as much as I can. So there's what's that quote, inspiration looks a lot like work. I
Yeah.
mean, that is what I'm doing. I'm putting in the time when I can, and being able to, do that family work balance, which I've heard there's not really a balance. I think we all struggle with that right now. But that's the hardest part.
Yeah.
The best part is being able to work on projects alongside other creatives.
Mhm.
It's just fuels me to be able to bounce around ideas um, with other people that are like-minded and have similar tastes and similar style.
Yeah. Now, when you're putting together a collection or maybe just even making a new piece of art, what's that process look like for you? Like, how long does a single piece take you? And I'm sure it varies just on size too, but generally speaking, and then more to that is how long to get a whole collection together to put it out there normally.
Yeah. It's always messy. Like my husband walked into my studio the other day, and right now my studio is at home. It's above our garage. One day I dream that I'll be able to, move further out and have something downtown or in a different part of the city. But right now, just being able to be at home and sneak in time literally whenever I can, sometimes after I put the kids to bed and I get to go check on something, is invaluable right now while my energy and my time feels so precious. I love being able to have my studio at home. But so my husband walked in the other day and was like, this is quite messy. But I was in my groove, trying to figure out exactly what felt good, and what felt right. It's a long process in the sense that I have to find the plants and let the plants dry.
Mm.
And I'm still really working on the best system for that, keeping track of all the stuff that I collect on walks, or if I go on trips, or when I go back to Columbus where my family lives. I'm always clipping hydrangeas, and there's some beautiful private gardens back in Columbus. So I like to be able to draw from that as much as I can. And then I live on the water here in Savannah in a great neighborhood. So I just this week have been working on 2 pieces that are inspired by the marsh that I want to be able to bring to our event at Emily McCarthy's shop next week, because I think it will hopefully help listeners and people that attend kind of see what my work is all about. But it's taken a long time to kind of hone this craft and this skill, and I'm really proud of it. And I think it's hopefully only going to continue to evolve in different ways.
Yeah, certainly. I mean, I guess that has to be hard. I didn't even think of that, but obviously spring and summer, there's so much flowers and greenery and plants growing. But I guess in Savannah, you kind of have that all year round, unlike here in Pennsylvania, or there's different things. And then I'm sure on your trips, you're probably trying to clip things, and I don't even know how you preserve them to bring them back in a suitcase, and what that looks like.
Hoard things. I hoard things in the spring and the summer, and when I'm on trips and I see something amazing, like I spoke of the lily pad botanical I did earlier, but I was in Maine with my family, and there was this amazing pond just full of these lily pads, and I was so captivated by it. So, I mean, I got like 100. I was like, there's going to be winter. Winter is coming, and it's going to be dead. And so I want to have materials to be able to work with, year round.
Yeah, no, that makes total sense. So I'm curious, since this is the Preppy podcast, I always ask everyone, what does Preppy mean to you? So how would you describe Preppy?
Yeah, I would describe Preppy as classic. When I think of Preppy, I think I have this vision of the Kennedys on Martha's Vineyard, and their perfectly rumpled polos and t-shirts, like looking laid back, not like they're trying too hard, but it is like the timeless American uniform that we all just immediately can go to in our mind.
Yeah, no, that's such a great answer. It is classic. Now, if there's a resource that you use in terms of a business or inspiration, like it could be a newsletter you subscribe to, or a magazine that you get great inspiration from, or maybe even a networking group, or a great book you read, what's a resource that you could share with listeners to check out?
I'm like a sponge for this kind of stuff. I love James Clear's newsletter. I don't know if you follow him. He puts a newsletter in your inbox every single Thursday, and he wrote Atomic Habits. I don't know if you read that.
Yeah, I did read that.
Okay, so his newsletter is fantastic, and I draw something from that. It's business minded, and I draw something from that every single week. In Kind magazine is that new. Have you heard of In Kind?
Yes.
The new female started magazine. Mm-hmm. I love when that comes out. I like save my save my magazines when I have some quiet time, so I can really delve into all those articles, because I think they're so applicable. Yeah. And I really enjoy reading that. What else? Podcasts. I love podcasts. I listen to podcasts all the time while I'm in the studio. I love Second Life. Have you listened to that?
Yes.
I love Second Life. Yep. Both. I think that there's a lot of creative people on there, but you also get that business side of things. So I feel like that's a great resource. So those are 3.
Yeah, those are great. I need to check out this newsletter and subscribe to it, because I did read his book, and it was great. So I imagine the newsletter is packed full of advice too. So what is next? What are you working on? Anything people can look forward to? Are you doing, a holiday collection, or do you have any holiday gifts people can find on your site? Or maybe you're thinking ahead to spring and summer already and planning for that.
Yeah, I'm already thinking the holidays, I feel like are such a mess. I'm already kind of thinking about next year in 2025. So I've gotten to a point where I have to say no to a lot of projects, which I absolutely hate doing, but I just have to be so fiercely protective of my time. So I started a print collection,
Yeah.
a Southern Botanical print collection back in, man, was that 2021? I think I released my print. So I painted a bunch of botanical flowers that you would typically find in a southern garden. And then I did a whole series on tropical plants because we have a lot of tropical plants here in Savannah. And I love how those look framed in a space as well. And I've partnered with a local guy here in Savannah who prints everything here locally on beautiful watercolor paper. And the quality of his printer is just like fantastic. Like it looks like you can see all my paint strokes. It's incredible. So he's been such a great resource for me. And I love to be able to have something available for people. I hate saying no. I'm a people pleaser like to the nth degree. So I like to have things available to buy on my website, even if it's not original work, which I try to release, quarterly, but there have been some very cool projects that have come across my plate that I haven't been able to say no to. So the print collection, I want to expand in 2025. I've actually already done a bunch of them. It's going to be animals this time, which my sister-in-law got married last spring on a farm. And for all of the table settings and menus and all the cards were all the animals on the farm. And I did them in a monochromatic tone. They're very cool. So they're pigs, they're goats, there's cows, and it was in the low country. So there's shrimp and there's blue herons, and they're very, very sweet. So I'm excited to be able to offer that in 2025. A lot of my prints usually get put in nurseries, which again, could I be more flattered to have, these little babies looking at my artwork? But they're usually in a girl's room. And so these I really think fit the bill for a little boy's room. If someone's decorating a nursery that wants to have approachable, well-priced, that's the other thing about the prints. I'm happy to be able to offer something that's a little more well-priced than my original artwork. So that's next on the horizon, and I'm very excited about that.
Oh my gosh, that's so cool. That's amazing. I can't wait to see these animals.
Thank you.
Yeah. So, one of my final questions is for those people who are planning to come to Savannah or hoping to come to Savannah for the event, what will you have there? Are people able to shop some of your pieces then? Any sneak peeks for that you can share of what you're planning? Mhm. Yeah. Mhm. Yes. Excellent. Oh my gosh, I cannot wait. So, final question is where can people find you? Let them know your Instagram handle, your website, all of that so they can follow along, they can shop and support. And yeah, and then hopefully we'll see some next week too in person.
Yes, you can find me at just M Studio on Instagram. Again, Mary Margaret Monsees was just too much of a mouthful. So M Studio, and on my website is mstudiosav.com, like Savannah, mstudiosav.com.
Perfect. Excellent. Well, this was so much fun. I can't wait to talk more with you at Emily McCarthy's shop and the rest of the panel. So, hope to see some of the listeners there.
Yes, thank you. Looking forward to it.
Thank you so much for listening to the Preppy Podcast. I hope this put a little prep in your step for the day. Please subscribe, rate, and review on wherever you listen to your podcast, and follow along with @the Preppy Podcast on social media.